Hello everyone, let's get started. So this is Aaron here and we're back at it with another video lecture. So this one's titled 12 Rules for Architecture Presentation Boards That Nobody Told Me. And I have little Grogu with Corbusier glasses gasping. And I just want to go over some things that honestly nobody taught me and I think would be super helpful for you as a design students to know. So just friendly reminder, let's focus here. I know we're not in person and this is online, so you can talk and use your phone, I guess, if you want. But a common theme throughout this presentation is Grogu. I apologize for the typo. It is not Gorgu, it's Grogu. And we'll avoid calling him Baby Yoda. And if you watched my last lecture, you'll know exactly why. Today's goals. So what is a board? You're probably thinking, if you don't know what a board is, I'm crazy. What makes a good board, and when do we use them? What are some common mistakes, and how can I make my board shine? So what kind of information is put on a board? This is more for my in-person learners. Here, write down a list, and you'll earn a candy bar if you get the most. But just pause for a minute. So pause right now and think about it. Okay, so there's a lot that goes on a board. So anything that goes on a board helps communicate a design. So that could be 3D views, site plan, section cuts, floor plans, process pictures, physical models, digital printed hybrid, videos, slideshows, hand-drawn and scanned. So it comes in many different forms. And a board is just a display. It could be printed like this. You've seen this in the last video. This was drawn by me in my second year of school using pens, pencils, and markers. I used a light table like tattoo artists do to trace some items I sketched out, so I didn't have to all freehand it on one piece. I could just trace. This requires a steady hand and often takes much longer than a digital board. Here are examples of digital boards. This is likely assembled in InDesign, which is an Adobe software used to create things like books, pamphlets, brochures, posters, really any 2D printed media, or also digital is fine too. And then the diagrams were likely produced in a combination of Rhino or Revit, potentially SketchUp, and then Illustrator, which we'll get into next week. So these are easy to adjust and edit and change and shift. However, these files can be absolutely massive, so be responsible with file management and please, please, please save your files. So here's a close-up of that. And often, sometimes, you can have multiple boards. It just depends on the context. Sometimes you only have one, you may have two or three. And you can also even have a supporting document of drawings that goes along with it. And so right here, I want to walk you through a few ideas. So Grogu right here, he says, Dad, when will we be learning the software to make boards? And then, by the way, I'm so sorry if you haven't seen The Mandalorian. It's on Disney+. Please go ahead and check it out. I'd love you to watch it. Let me know what you think. But I'm sorry if you're lost in the sauce here. We don't have enough time to explain who Grogu is and what a Mandalorian is. But anyways, the dad says, in a few weeks' time, Foundling. So an example of a printed board is shown here. Please, please, please make sure to plan ahead with these and expect issues. Large format printers are hard to use, and some schools will allow you to print while others will print for you. You may or may not have to supply your own paper. Paper is very expensive if you get a super high quality one. But be careful, don't use cheap thin paper because it will look very crinkly and just cheapen the look of everything. And then overly glossy paper gets fingerprints and can be very gaudy looking. So I always suggest my students go for a matte finish paper, and then you can either glue it to foam core, cardboard. Be careful with cardboard though, because sometimes it'll show the corrugation texture if you push too hard, or you can pin it to a tack board. Here are examples of models on a board. I like to do this. It adds a nice 3D element, shows process. You can create tiny little adorable shelves that house your model, and it just stands out among the crowd. Okay, so let's look at this example here. So I want to show you what makes a good board, and we'll be critiquing a few boards in this presentation to enhance your understanding and really give you spidey senses. And I'll call them spidey senses because I do believe that as architects we do have our own kind of senses. I don't know what the name would be, but we'll call them spidey senses for now. But architects love alignment. Do you see how almost, the elevation of the building on top aligns with the edge of the floor plan, and all of these diagrams on the right align, and same with the left. And then we even have further alignment. So any opportunity you have to align something on a board, please take it. It is just clean, it's classy, it's beautiful, it shows intention, and it looks polished and clean. And then another common thing is a lot of students and professionals like to divide their board into 3 chunks, and these 3 chunks help classify types of information. So our bottom chunk, we have a render. In the middle, we have a floor plan and diagrams, and on the top, we have more administrative things like some text and a map, and a little elevation. But however, there's an issue here. So if this board is probably massive. If it's printed out, my bet is that it was actually printed out. Even me at 6'4", I would not be able to read that text. I would have to take a photo on my phone and zoom into it. So be very careful about where you place your text on a board, especially if it's printed. And then I want to point out, look at these beautiful process diagrams. I call this the milkshake. So these right here are the ingredients for their milkshake, and the milkshake being the design. I don't know about you, but when I order a concrete mixer or a Blizzard or milkshake, I want to know what's in it. I don't need to know everything, but if there's a milkshake called, I don't know, chocolate fun chocolate or something. Well, okay, what's in it? Just chocolate? Are we talking Snickers? Is there caramel in it? Literally, what's in it? And that process is like listing the ingredients on the back of like a wrapper of something. It helps inform us what went into this. Also, too, a bummer on this beautiful board is we have no title. Never untitle your work, please. I'm always a big fan of titling your work. But one thing I want to point out is, whoa, sick background, dude. I love how it all ties together. So do you see how the sky, it's not distracting, it's very, very light, but it just unifies the whole entire presentation. And it's also, the graphics are pretty easy to read. Okay, so let's dive into another example. And I'm calling this here, Sweetie, beautiful work, but I can't see your drawings. These are so gray. If they were jet black, I'd be able to read them. I know they're going for more of an invisible look to really just like almost these don't exist unless you look close. But think about legibility. People of all ages are looking at these, and I can't read those. And another boo-boo I noticed is you'll have to look really close, but the margins unfortunately are unequal, which is really unfortunate because this project is beautiful. And then look at this unity. Do you see the same tone and filter applied to all of the renderings? Just something beautiful I wanted to point out. And it even goes into the same filter applied to that little wasp, hornet, yellow jacket, whatever it may be. And then we have an absolutely explosive attention grabber of an image. So it's always so important to have a giant focal point, beautiful emphasis. It could be a rendering. It could be a really cool floor plan. It could be anything, but it should be huge and draw you in. So another tip, develop checklists to make your final product more professional. And here are a few things I developed for this class. I will go over the big points, and you can read the italicized text if you wish. But like I showed you previously, apply simple grid and don't overthink it. Just think less. Think more about things aligning. It does not have to be a 1-inch by 1-inch grid or 12-inch by 12-inch grid. Just put in your things, and if you need to do a grid afterwards, that's fine. But just think about items and how they relate to each other in their alignment. And like stated before, think about this rule of 3 simple chunks to help organize your information, not only for you, but also the viewer. And then ensure items are easy to read. There shouldn't be any huge text high up or contrast issues. There definitely won't be any distracting backgrounds. And again, no huge obnoxious text or itty bitty teeny tiny little text. And then think about adding that milkshake ingredient like I told you and showcasing that process. And then ground your board. So I showed you previously that heavy rendering was on the bottom. It's just a trick a lot of architects use, but it's nice to put the most visually heavy item down at the bottom, and that just grounds the piece nicely. And then keep that layout simple. Please do not get cute with it. Let your work shine, not an over-the-top graphic design project. Okay, moving on. So add that focal point like we talked about. And make sure to title that bad boy and use an appropriate font. So your font should look professional, modern, and clean. We should by no means be using Papyrus, Comic Sans, Joker, Wingding, any of that. And if you do, you will be put in architectural jail. So please, please, please do not pick a gaudy font. Do not use that wedding cursive script. Do not use fancy, I don't know, whatever you would use on your 5th grade birthday party invitation. It should be clean, modern, and simple. And then, like I said before, align, align, align. Align your titles, align your labels, your captions, your images, edges of diagrams, align it all. An aligned project is a professional project. And then, if appropriate, if you have scaled drawings, like a floor plan, include a visual scale and a north arrow, and I will walk you through all of that this semester. And then make sure your graphics are cohesive. Think about this. If I drew one diagram in crayon and scanned it, and then I drew another diagram in Illustrator but made it more of a relaxed, warm tone, I made it very professional and super sleek and modern, those would not match and it would look quite chaotic. So think about almost applying the same kind of graphic style throughout your whole presentation. And then only show what is important. We don't need to show everything that's going on here, okay? Think about it this way. Your board, if it's printed, should speak for itself. If we were to magically apparate someone from Hogwarts and they were to appear in our classroom with no one else around, they should be able to understand roughly what's going on by reading your board. One more tip. So actually use these checklists. It's nice to have them, but please put this into practice and use this as you're working through your semester project. Now, another example I wanted to showcase. Unfortunately, we have no title, which hurts my heart. But dang, look at that alignment. Beautiful alignment here. That floor plan lines up beautifully with that text. And then look at this lovely zoning here. We have 3 zones. But unfortunately, unequal margin sizes. I've been in the game long enough, and I pick up on these things like an absolute hawk. I know most people won't care, but guess what? Once you have a lot of training and experience in this profession, you will see these things immediately. No, I'm not a graphic designer, but I am an architect, and guess what? We have these same design principles, but they're more permanent. They're on actual buildings, and I see these boo-boos daily, and it makes me cringe. So just keep that in mind. As you get more experience, you will pick up on these things. Beautiful north arrow that I just wanted to show you at the end. So making beautiful boards means being open to constructive feedback and making small tweaks. So we'll have our boy Grogu step in here, and he says, "Can we have stronger focal point, please?" And do you see how Grogu added a stronger focal point? Because personally, it felt like the middle of the board was lacking a lot, and the lines were just too thin. So he played around. And you can see here, Mandalorian Mando says, "Good job, kid." And then Grogu giggles. But we're not done yet. Mandalorian says, "Grogu, can we have even more emphasis?" And then Grogu says, "Yes, yes, 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 yes." And again, I'm so sorry if you haven't seen this. I'm just trying to make a pop culture reference here. So baby Grogu, he added color here. And do you see how it's the same color as the sky? I'm including the same color palette here. And then Grogu continues to giggle uncontrollably when I change it to a neutral gray. So, and then that's his little happy dance. You can see here, I definitely made this over. So look where we started, and now look where we finished. You can tell it's definitely, it's got more sauce, more attitude, and more vibrancy, and it really hits you across the face. And one piece of advice I'll leave you with is you're not stuck. You're just scared to start. I know, boards are huge. They can be like 3 feet by 6 feet, but divide it into 3 chunks, take baby steps, and remember, put your content on first, then you can make up a grid. So some conclusions: keep it simple, aligned, cohesive, organized, keep your boards minimal and clean, make sure to do a bold focal point, and you can always ask me if you need help. So I want you to know that. Thank you so much. Mando says, "Great job." And then if I did it right, this animation, Grogu will spin. And I believe he does that, like he jumps around and stuff and likes to play. So if you have any questions, shoot me a message, and this PowerPoint and PDF will be posted on Canvas. Thanks.